Hey there, friends. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Cal, Cal from the internet. And if you haven't seen me before, I do a lot of videos here about BigCommerce. And what we're going to talk about today is optimizing categories for search, specifically on BigCommerce. I'm going to try and keep doing these live calls with you guys once a week or every other week and just get into the weeds with you guys. So if there's things that you guys want to learn about, feel free to leave me a comment. And if you guys can leave me a comment, let me know for sure that you can hear me too, just as a confirmation that my mic is working and it should be. All right. All right. Give me an emoji in chat if you would. Give me your favorite emoji if you're ready to get going. All right. So this is something that I wanted to talk about because I talk about this a lot with my clients. And, I work with a lot of e-commerce stores and I wanted to kind of just dig into the weeds on how to optimize for content. So the thing is, there's a lot of agencies out there like mine that can perform SEO for you. Um, and that a lot of people kind of think that SEO is a magic wand. And it's really not. It's remembering that content is king and that content is the most important. And I think people forget about it or they don't really know what that means. And so I want to show you guys some things today that you can do, whether you hire an agency like mine or not, to help you to just make your content better. And I'm going to show you guys how to figure out what there should be and show you how to actually put it in on BigCommerce, or what I would do, what I do on my sites, my client sites, and everything. So I appreciate you guys being here. This is going to be, we're going to go over some content theory, and we're going to go over your questions. We're going to go over how to actually take this theory, how to create words. I'm just going to use GPT to create some words during this call, and then how to put them in on BigCommerce and how to have a category page that actually looks optimized for search, but is not gross to look at, right? So you always got to remember with SEO that it's a balancing act. It's great to add a whole bunch more content to your page up until the point at which it looks junky to your customers and turns them off. So you don't want to go too far. Hi Jaden, thanks for joining me again today. I'm a little bit sniffly. I'm getting over a cold. So here's what I've done is I have picked a site that I know nothing about completely at random, and we're going to pretend like this is our site today, and I'm going to talk you through like what I would do to make it better from an SEO standpoint specifically. So let me take a screenshot of it real quick, and then I'm going to share my screen. All right. Well, the blog section's a massive letdown on BigCommerce. I hate the current what you see is what you get. Yeah, what you see is what you get is not great on any platform that I know of. WordPress is a little bit better, but you just need more than a what you see is what you get editor these days. You need columns, you need, other types of media. And, it's not there on BigCommerce or, truly on Shopify, or I don't really feel like even the WYSIWYG on WordPress is that great. You have to start getting like widgets involved to make any of them, worth a read. But, the good news is you can use widgets on BigCommerce the same as you can on Shopify and other systems. Um, so you just have to dial it up. And, the thing that I wish could be changed, maybe they will in the future, is that when you're editing a blog post on BigCommerce, you're editing in the WYSIWYG, and if you want to add more stuff to it in terms of rich media, then you have to go into the customizer and use widgets. And so you're kind of putting half the page in using the widget and half the page using widgets. And it kind of just sucks that they're in two different places. I wish that you could, from the page that you're editing, also tap into the customizer. So BigCommerce, if you're listening, people would love to see that. So you still have a WYSIWYG field, but then you can drag a widget in underneath it or some columns or whatever. That would be amazing. That would be awesome. Hi Khalil, thanks for joining us. Okay, so these live sessions is a live workshop. So I want you guys to ask questions. I'm here for your questions. I'm just gonna unleash everything that I know and that I can remember to tell you guys. And so, um, let me share my screen and show you. I just picked this page at random. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So this page right here, ourgreenhouse.com. This is not a client. I don't know anything about these guys. I literally just did a search for wooden blocks and I took something off of page 2, just completely at random. So I know nothing about these guys, but this is their website, ourgreenhouse.com. And I'm looking at specifically this page, this category page. That's what we're talking about today. There's all different secrets for product pages and for other pages. We're just going to stick to category pages today. And so here's the thing. So wooden blocks. This is their category page. It is what it is. This is what they've done. There's a couple things that just look a little bit weird, like this sort by here. I mean, there's not much point in talking about it from a design aesthetic. Their pictures actually look good, which is nice. Um, they have a paragraph down here, which is nice. Most of you guys probably don't even have a paragraph on your page. So I like that they did this. This is a good step one, right? But we need more than this. So I use a couple different tools, and I'm going to just show you guys, using the tools that I use. You don't have to use these tools, and I'm not an affiliate for any of these tools or anything like that. I- My power is flickering, man. If I disappear on the live, I'm okay. My power is just who knows. Okay, so I use a tool called Ahrefs. Now, some people like SEMrush, some people like Ahrefs. These are kind of the two neck and neck kings of the SEO realm, and you guys may have a subscription to one of these. You may have a preference. Maybe you've never even heard of them. There are other less expensive tools out there. Neil Patel's Uber Suggest is one that I like quite a bit. Um, it's not going to be as powerful as Ahrefs. It's also not as expensive as Ahrefs. Whether you're using Ahrefs or SEMrush, there is similar functionality in both of these for the purposes of what I'm going to show you guys today. Um, but this is where I start. Is I put in the URL of the page here that we want to optimize. So this is toy kids slash toy toddler dash toys slash wooden blocks, which that URL kind of sucks. So right off the bat, we could optimize their URL. Okay. Um, what I'm looking for here is I'm looking to see, uh, what keywords does it rank for? What's it coming close to, right? And so this particular page, Ahrefs, is saying that it has the following rankings for all of these words. So in their estimation, for the term I put into Google, looking and finding this page, wooden blocks, it's ranked on position 21, which is the top of page 3, basically. Building blocks for kids, it currently just got deranked for that, so it's probably bouncing around, um, in its position. Wooden building blocks, it's ranked for 10. Natural wooden blocks, 3. Toy blocks, 11. And so looking at this category, it's a good category to optimize because it's got a lot of page 1 and page 2 rankings, but it's not really hitting anything hard enough to bring in any significant traffic because you really got to be in the top 3 on whatever search you're targeting in order to bring in traffic. If I mute myself to cough, I'm trying to save you guys. So here's what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out, okay, they clearly made an effort to rank for this term wooden blocks and stacking, but are they even on the right term? This is step one, is what are we even targeting towards, right? Because we can't target or optimize towards a target if we don't know what the target is and should be. So wooden blocks and stacking is what they're targeting. They may be just targeting wooden blocks and thought that throwing stacking in as an extra keyword would maybe get them on some extra searches, and maybe it did. Looking at these keywords, it's pretty clear from the search volume that wooden blocks is the biggest term. So if this is the page that they want to get ranked for wooden blocks, I think that that's a good one, right? Now, what they add after that, let's look and see what has the term stacking in it. So, wooden stacking blocks that they're still at the bottom of the page one, but that only has 150 search volume. Wood stacking blocks, they're middle of page one, but that only has 50. So, for a word that augments that primary keyword of wooden blocks, I feel like stacking is maybe not as beneficial as for kids. So I would suggest maybe they consider changing the whole target of the page to wooden blocks for kids, or maybe wooden building blocks for kids. I would probably, come up with one of those combinations. Okay. So that is um how I go about, like, figuring out, are we even targeted at the right word? Like, just backing up to step 1, what are we targeting at? Is it right? And sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Sometimes when you put your store up, you put in all these categories, according to what you think the keyword should be, and it's really beneficial to come back 3 months later, 6 months later, and see, okay, if all of my categories are a hook that I throw in the river, which ones are actually close to catching some fish? And for each one of those hooks, which fish is it close to catching, right? So wooden building blocks for kids is probably what I would either do wooden blocks for kids or wooden building blocks for kids, one of those 2. Because that way um, we're gonna be augmenting our primary keyword with something that is a little bit more worthy of a target in the first place, because these both have a thousand keyword searches versus 150 and 50. Okay, so step 1, what are we searching for? Step 2 is, what content and content structure do we even want to have on the page? So let me see here. Okay. I took a screenshot of this and I'm going to throw it here into Figma, just so I can kind of draw around this a little bit. I'm going to create a couple different versions of it. I'm going to create one that's like this. And this is not something that you do for SEO. This is just something that is going to let me kind of demonstrate it a little bit quickly. Let me just do this. And I'm going to make kind of like a product page like this, so I can kind of start drawing on it. Okay, fill 0. Okay. So if I make this page a little bit bigger, what we want to do next is we want to say, okay, here's what they have content-wise going. They have a title, which we're going to re-optimize. They have some products, which those are what they are. Um, and then they have a paragraph at the bottom. And what I would suggest is we should take that paragraph that they have at the bottom, and we're going to actually move it up. So we're going to put that at the top of the page instead of the bottom. Let me just crop that out. Crop that out. There we go. This isn't really a design course today. I'm just going to kind of move quickly and show you guys kind of what I think should be different. And then we're going to actually like make it that way on a BigCommerce page. Okay, so first of all, they have, if we move this up here, then they get some good text above the fold. It should maybe be a little bit shorter, but it's not that much text. If I actually put it into like a character counter, let's see how many words it is. Word counter. They have a total of like 100 words on the page. That's not much. Now it's more than 0. And that might be why they are actually ranking on some keywords here on page 1. But imagine if you had more content than that without it being ugly. Could it rank for better? And is this even targeted towards the keyword that we want to target? So here's what I do next. So I take that keyword that we put together, which we said was wooden building blocks for kids. All right, wooden building blocks for kids. Then I go over to this other software called Surfer. Surfer SEO is like a writing tool that will um, help you write for a keyword. Okay. So what you do here is you go in here and you type in your keyword and tell it to do some keyword research. One sec. Yeah, Jaden, we're going to put some content at the bottom too. This is why we want to put a little bit at the top and then more at the bottom. And so I'm just moving that up as a good category descriptor in order to get our most valuable SEO text at the top, because the higher it is on the page, the more Google is going to think that it's important. And so if we have like a nice little introductory sentence or three that has some good keywords and is relevant for that, it's going to be weighted higher if it's at the top, right? So I'm getting the good text where it should be weighted the highest, and then we're going to put some more in at the bottom. Okay. Keep your questions coming though. And Jaden, I need you to come to all my YouTube lives because you have lots of good questions. So I really appreciate it. Okay, so when we come in here and we say, okay, um, let's see here. It gives us a whole bunch of things that it thinks are relevant to this term, right? And some of them may be more relevant than others, but it's saying, here is just a whole bunch of stuff that is topically relevant. Okay. Now, what we can do next is we can come back here and actually go into this content editor piece and say, okay, we want to rank for this, and go ahead and create this. Now, this is going to burn up a credit. Surfer SEO gives you so many credits or so many articles that you can do per month. So I'm going to burn up a credit for you guys. And this is going to go through and figure out all of the keywords it thinks are relevant to this keyword, and then it's going to open this up kind of in a WYSIWYG, and we're going to type in there and let it determine how good our content is from an SEO standpoint and how likely it thinks we are to rank. This will take a minute. What we're going to want to do, um, like in a nutshell, is we're going to create some content for the top of the page, which is going to be an introductory uh, paragraph, basically for that category. We're going to create some additional content at the bottom, and then we're going to create additional content sections after that. And we're going to use Surfer to optimize all of it before we ever put it on the page. I'm doing this live. I guess I could have done this before before I went live, but you guys are seeing, like, I'm finding out what Surfer tells me, and what Ahrefs tells me at the same time you guys are. Now, note that we're doing all of this for one category page. A lot of people think you just wave your magic wand and everything just gets better results. But you really need to sit here and do this on an individual category page and an individual product page in order to get really good results. And look at it this way: if you don't do that, if you just kind of phone it in, the next guy might not be. And that's why he's going to outrank you, you know? All right. So it does take a couple minutes. It's still cranking. In the meantime, let's go to ChatGPT. And you can actually see here, this is what I did before the call, is I said, hey, pick, give me a whole bunch of different products. And I just randomly took one of these just to show you how random our selection is today. I didn't even pick the subject. I let ChatGPT like give me some, and I just picked from what it gave me. All right. So now we're going to tell ChatGPT, you are the content manager for an e-commerce store selling kids, toys, and gifts, let's say. What was the store called? The store is called ourgreenhouse.com. And you are currently working to optimize a category for the term wooden building blocks for kids. Oh my gosh, you guys are seeing how terrible I type. I wouldn't be watching this. I wouldn't be watching this today. I'm just kidding. Wait. Okay. So write an introductory 2 to 3 sentences to introduce this category to the web visitor. I just tell it, write an SEO optimized introductory 2 to 3 sentences. Now, full disclosure, telling GPT to write this thing to be SEO optimized, like, doesn't know what we're targeting. We're making the assumption that it knows that this is the keyword target, but it doesn't hurt to say, do your best. We're gonna improve on this anyway. Now, while I'm breaking out Chat GPT, this is not like I'm the guru on GPT lesson today. I'm just kind of showing you how I get some initial ideas. So it generated one. I'm going to say generate 5 more examples that are around 60 to 100 words max. Just because, we want some choice. Now this isn't a copywriting course today, and so I do recommend that you take whatever, you get as an introduction from GPT and wordsmith it yourself to improve on it. And specifically do that in Surfer. Now, some of you guys might be, looking up Surfer and looking up Ahrefs and realizing, these are kind of expensive tools. I think Ahrefs starts at like $100 a month. And Surfer is not bad. I think it's like 40 or $50 a month. I do a lot of work on my own sites, uh, some on client sites when needed, and it's really worth it for people that are professional SEOs to get professional grade tools, and these are two of those. If you want to look at yourself as the professional in your business that's doing it, is it worth buying the best tools if you're going to do it? I mean, to me, if I was a guy running just one e-commerce store and I was going to do my own content, which is a good idea, I would probably get both of these, you know? Okay. So let's just pick one of these. Uh, I'm going to pick the second half of this as a starting introduction. Okay. And I'm going to come in here to Surfer, which is now done thinking, and I'm going to click into this, which opens up a WYSIWYG. Now, this, Surfer is not tied to your BigCommerce store or whatever you're on in any ways, and it's probably never going to be. I think it does output to WordPress if you have WordPress, which you shouldn't in e-commerce, but it doesn't matter. Like, what all we're using this for is like a word processor to do our typing and to judge, the quality of this. Okay. So if I put this paragraph in, then it says for this term, it's ranking me as an 8. And they gave an estimate to say that if you want to rank on this keyword, you're going to need about 600 to 800 words. You're going to need more headings, you're going to need more paragraphs, and you're going to need some images. Now, you obviously have images on a category page, so the images aren't a big consideration, but the words and the headings and the paragraphs, look, you're not going to have 7 headings, but you needed more than 0, you know? I will go ahead and copy in the keyword. What was our keyword here? Wooden building blocks for kids. So I'm going to copy this into Surfer here, and I'm going to tell it that this is actually an H1, which the H1 is going to go a long way to helping you rank for the keyword. So having an H1 on the page is going to let Surfer understand a lot more, like the true content that's there. And you can see just with that H1 and just with the P tag, it's now ranking me a 33 out of 100. But we're not doing that great yet. I try and get most of my sites up into the green because green means go. and just remember that in Surfer. If you can get into the green, then you're looking pretty good. And they have this little subscale here that shows that you're actually trying to get within this range. So if you're high in the amber, you got a chance. If you're in the green, you got a real good chance. And down here, Surfer does its own keyword research and says, based on this keyword, here's a bunch of other things that we think that you need on the page, some of which are valid keywords like wooden building blocks, wooden building, wooden blocks, but some other words it thinks are just part of good reading for something that's going to be written for this title, right? So it would be weird if you're trying to rank for the word wooden building blocks for kids and you didn't really mention blocks much on the page. It says they think that you need to have this on the page like 12 to 24 times. They think you need to have the word children on the page, even though we're trying to rank for kids, right? So it's going through there and they're finding some synonyms and things and saying, you don't have to have all these keywords, first of all, but they think all of these keywords lead in the right direction. So, kind of stacking it up to have more of these is a good idea. But we're just getting started on our content. Let's just here for giggles take the content that they actually had on their page, which is a lot if we're pushing this to the top. But let's take this and go back to Surfer and actually just put this in instead of this and see if there's a difference between what they wrote and what I wrote from an SEO standpoint. So they had a lot more words. It it says that it's a little bit more optimized, right? Which is fine. So they do have some things that are grammatical errors here. And you know, Google and other search engines more and more are trying to figure out not only what keywords are on the page and what topics is it relevant to, but how well is it written? Like if it's written with a bunch of spelling mistakes and grammatical errors, then they're going to say, this is written at a kindergarten level, and we want to see things that are written at a 10th grade level or, an 8th grade level or something at least, right? Because they don't want to send people to low quality pages. So I'm actually just going to get rid of what they wrote just because it just doesn't have a lot to do with uh, like an introduction to the category. Or how about this? Let's keep it and let's say this is going to be the start of the content that's at the bottom of the page. Okay? Let me get into that here for a second. We go back to Figma. Okay. So let's say this is our page, but we're going to yank out this text that was there and instead we're just going to type some text in on the page just for illustration now. Because I'm going to show you guys what I have in mind here for the content. Okay, let me make that smaller. Okay, so if this was the text at the top of the page, what I want to see is I want to see more content. I want to see more words. I want to see an H2. So your ranking elements on any page on your site include the H1, the first H2s, the text that's on the page, contextual links, anchor text on any of your images, as well as the presence of images and your URL of the page, right? So you want all of those things, if at all possible, to be optimized for this term, which we're going to just take out here what they have. And we're going to put our own term in here instead. Oops. Just for illustration. Okay, what was our term again? Wooden building blocks for kids. So let's put that in up here. Make it a lot bigger. Oh, wooden building blocks for kids. So let's pretend this is the H1 and this is the paragraph text. What I want to see is I want to see two H2s on every page in your site, including this one. But we're only talking about this one. So let's put a title down here that says why. How about why are building why are wooden building blocks beneficial for kids. And this is going to be an H2 on the page. So let's make it smaller. And then I'm just going to, for placement's sake, I'm going to just drag the same text down here and say, like, let's pretend this is the text that we want to have written. Okay, so why is it beneficial for kids? Great. So we're going to have a block of text down there. And then we're going to make another H2. It says wooden building blocks FAQ or frequently asked questions, wooden building blocks. Okay, and then down here, we're going to have a bunch of questions. So question, question, question. Okay. So this is kind of like what we are shooting to do today. Paragraph at the top, paragraph or two at the bottom here in a second section with an H2, and then a third section that's frequently asked questions about wooden building blocks. And if you guys haven't got into FAQs, I mean, FAQs are like the biggest hack in SEO right now you could imagine because you can get, if you do like 8 to 10 FAQs, you're going to be adding an extra 1,000 words or more. Okay. So if this is what we want, is why are building blocks beneficial for kids? What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back to GPT and I'm going to say, okay, you want to add a section to this category page that is all about what reasons do you have why wooden building blocks would be good for kids. Okay. And then it is going to write these things out. So it's kind of making the case to me as to why these things make sense. And if it comes up with anything that doesn't make sense, then we can say, hey, like, let's write a section that doesn't include that. All this stuff looks pretty good though. So let's now say write a section around 300 words explaining why wooden building blocks are beneficial for kids. Now, again, like I said at the beginning, like I'm not telling you to GPT all of your content. What I do like GPT for is to spitball ideas and to give us starting points. And because I'm not going to sit here and actually write all the unique content for this, I'm going to just use GPT's output for the purposes of this call as if we had written it. But I do recommend whatever they come up with, uh, definitely wordsmith it, you know. And what it came up with here is way too long. So I say rewrite this and make it 40% shorter and readable at a sixth grade level. Now, the reason I want it shorter, like I do want more words on the page, but the reason I want this shorter is I don't want this to be indigestible. And I'm going to, excuse me. I'm like, I didn't hit the mute button fast enough there. I'm sorry. Okay, so I like what they did here, but I want it to be more in paragraph form. So I'm going to say rewrite this in paragraph form with a maximum of three, let's say a maximum of 4 bullet points uh, as part of it. It's just too bullet pointy right now for the way I want this page to look, right? So I'm trying to get like 2 paragraphs, maybe a couple bullets. That's it. All right. I like this. This looks pretty good. Okay, so let's come back here to our thing and we're gonna we're gonna paste this in. I'm gonna remove their content. We're up to a 40, but we don't have our H2 in yet. So I'm going to grab this guy and put it in here as an H2. If you guys are interested in getting Surfer, there's so many good tutorials out there as to how this thing works. So don't feel like you have to be an expert on it from what I'm showing you. I know I'm going kind of fast. Just think of it as like a word optimization tool. And yeah, all right. So this is not a bullet. Okay. If you guys have questions, keep them coming too. All right. So we have an H1 on the page. We have a paragraph on the page. We have an H2. We have a nice little block of text underneath the H2. We're up to 170 words. We're scoring in the middle now on Surfer. And now what I want to do is take that other H2. I'm going to put that on the page here. Once I get the content how we want it to be, then I'm going to paste this into BigCommerce and show you kind of how it looks. Okay. So frequently asked questions about wooden building blocks. At this point, if this was your real page, I would ask yourself, what kind of questions do people actually ask me about these blocks? And use those first. Okay. Now, I know nothing about wooden building blocks for kids. My kids already pretty much outgrown these. So I'm going to go back to my friend GPT and say, generate, let's say 20 questions people might ask. I'm going to change this to be 20 questions parents might ask, since they're a target audience for this keyword, um, about this category of products. Okay. So GPT is just going to come up with some ideas for questions. Another place that you can get ideas for questions would be using Answer the Public, Ask the Public. I can never remember which one it is. You can also go to that search, which is, sorry, keyword again. Jeez, I should have written this down. I'm going to just go to this search. This is a cool way to get questions. So I'm going to do that actual search, and I'm just going to scroll down to, actually, let me scroll down a little bit slower. Sometimes there is a people ask section that appears here at the top, and that's a great place to get questions that people are asking. Another place is down here at the bottom to look at some of the relevant stuff and to look at some of the frequently searched items and see if you can piece together any questions, from that uh, aspect. So, wooden blocks for crafts could easily be: can these wooden blocks be used for crafts? How to use wooden building blocks for houses, and maybe you could have a couple paragraphs about how to build little houses with your kids or something out of this. And so wherever you want to get your questions, whether it's GPT or Google themselves, which is one of my favorites, or Answer the Public, the idea here is to generate a list of questions that you like and that you want to actually put on the page. And so I'm not gonna go through these and figure out which ones I like, but what I would do is I would take all the potential ideas that you have and figure out which ones you think are the best questions to put on the page, and then either sit down and answer them yourself, which I highly recommend, or if you're taking the shortcut like me today, you can say, here are 10 questions people frequently ask about these products. Create an answer for each question. Okay, so I'm going to just feed it back in the questions that I'm pretending that I selected. And GPT is going to go through here and create an answer for each one. Okay, I'm going to tell it to stop generating, and I'm going to say, rewrite these to be at least 50 words each in a paragraph form using short paragraphs. Yeah, Jaden says he uses search engine results to get FAQs, and I love it. I mean, that's all I did before GPT came. And the thing I like about GPT is, you can generate a lot of ideas, and they're not all great ones, but you can have it generate 50, and you can pick 5 or 10 great ones from it. Using search is a little bit slower, but it's probably the best overall because, Google is telling you things that it actually knows people are searching for. And, it's telling you keywords that are relevant to, the thing that you're writing about today, which is really great. One small minus though about using it is if you're using just the questions that Google gives you, then you're trying to answer the same question someone else had. And so then you're competing for the same question. Whereas if you potentially answer a question that hasn't been asked before and therefore hasn't been made to rank, you may be the guy that answers that question for the first time in history, and then you could come up on a completely new, unique, frequently asked question just because nobody else has thought to ask it or to answer it before. So I like to kind of blend methods and that way you kind of end up with the best of everything. Rick asks, has anyone used Writer's End? I have not. I like Surfer, and, I haven't used anything I haven't used Writer's End. I've used other tools, I just haven't used that particular one. Should each question be in an H2 or a P tag? Well, alright, so you can get real deep into, like, the semantics of how you put these questions on the page. Um Technically, there is rich snippets that you can use for frequently asked questions if you want to get that deep. You don't have to get your rich snippets completely right um, in order to rank. So Google will take the best content, whether or not it's in the perfect rich snippet or not. I would not use H2s for all of these questions. If you want to use a heading, I would use H3s at the most, H3s or H4s, because technically they are subheadings within the semantic section starting with the H2, right? So when you have questions that you're posting here under frequently, oh my gosh, frequently asked questions about wooden building blocks. Technically, each one of these are like a subheading of this, right? So they roll up to this. So from a semantic standpoint, if this is an H2, then you want these to be H3s. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna take a cough drop. If you guys hear me crunching, I apologize in advance. But I don't want to cough all over you. So, if you want to use a heading tag, consider an H3. Doesn't have to be. You're not going to be penalized if they're not H3s. So this is one of those questions that's debatable, and you know, I can't tell you what the right answer is. I usually put mine in divs or spans, but H3s I think are perfectly acceptable. H3s aren't going to be ranked like an H2 anyway, and the consensus is really the first two H2s are the only H2s that matter or that are weighted. So by getting these two H2s on here, even if you had 50 more H2s on the page, it's diminishing returns because Google's really focusing on the first couple. All right. Where was it? Okay, yes. So GPT generated some questions and answers, and I'm going to just take these and pretend like I wordsmith them to not be here all day with you guys. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to paste it in here, and I'm going to put these in here. I put them in as list items. get those out of list items. There we go. So I'm going to put these, I'm going to tell Surfer that these are all going to be paragraphs. You know, Surfer does believe that you should have a certain number of paragraphs on the page. And so we're just going to put these all in as paragraphs. I don't think I would actually make my headings paragraphs. So let's see if I can change it to something else from Surfer. No. So from Surfer's standpoint, it's got to be a paragraph or it's got to be a heading. Okay, so I'm going to leave it in as a paragraph here for them to do their calculations. I could, I guess, technically come in here and do some like shift returns so it doesn't look like I have extra paragraphs than I really do. Let me just do that real quick. Okay. Okay, so where are we at now? We're at 500, almost 600 words now. And they said that our goal should be, 700 to 800 apparently. And so we're doing good. Now, you guys can easily fluff up these to make them 2 paragraphs or to add some bullet points in here. You can go through your text and say, okay, Surfer thinks I'm talking about wooden blocks too much. So let's look for it. Let's look for that as a keyword and maybe change some of these so that I'm not overdoing it. You can also look through here for opportunities to use some more of these keywords. And Surfer has a really cool feature here where it says insert terms. And if you do this, they'll actually take some of these NLP terms that they think should be there and look for opportunities where they can be inserted, and they'll just insert them for you. It'll go through like one at a time and tell you what it's going to insert before it inserts it so that you can make sure that you really do want this to be put in there. So in this case, it says dive into create a world of sustainable play. So if we did that, we would probably want to split this into because we're saying dive into create. But this does get create on the page. So I'm going to say I'll allow it. And then here you can insert the word products. This ensures our products have not only, that totally makes sense, benefits. To guarantee both its quality and the safety benefits it provides for young users. Great. So I'm just going to go through here and accept the rest because I don't need to take up your whole day. But you can see that, that's a cool way to get this a little bit more optimal is just let Surfer insert some stuff, right? Now I would take all the keywords that are in here that I know are relevant to the term that we're optimizing for, wooden building blocks for kids. And I would try and make sure that I hit at least the minimums on these. So we hit the minimums on blocks, we hit the minimums on wooden blocks, toys. So is there a way to add toys to here? Sure. Our wooden blocks are toys conscientiously crafted from wood. Great. We got one more use of toys in here. We can insert it right here. They're gentle and safe toys for little hands. So you can see here that you can go through here and optimize it, and Surfer is going to tell you as you're getting better and better optimized for the term. Now I try and get every page that I optimize into the green. You don't want it to look spammy. You want the content that you write to be beneficial. And so by having an intro paragraph, like an exposed section here about why would you want this, or why is this better, or 5 benefits you get from this, or just kind of something along those lines. This is content that not only is great for SEO, but this is content that is actually talking to their intent. You're actually giving them content that should make them actually want to buy more. So this is stuff that is positive and should help your conversion rate. Because if you're thinking about wooden building blocks for kids, Hey, if you knew that these things were, good for teaching sensation and they're gonna last forever and that they're supernatural and they don't have, chemicals in them and stuff like that, yeah, I'm gonna be more likely to buy it, or some percentage of people are gonna be more likely to buy. So you're making your content better. And this is what Google's talking about when they say content is king. Well, not just them, I guess they don't talk, but everyone that speaks on behalf of them, like me, I guess, in this moment, this is what we're talking about with content is king is how do we make the best content? How do we make this category page the best? I'm not talking about tricking Google. I'm talking about how do we make this the best? And to me, if this content had all this stuff on it, it's potentially the best. So this is where we start is number 1, what is the term we want to rank for? Are we looking at the right target? Number 2, how do we be the best? And then number 3, how do we get it onto the page? So let's talk about that. Okay. So this site that we've looked at so far clearly is not my site. I don't have access to it. So I'm going to just use a Cornerstone template here and show you guys how I put it in on Cornerstone. And so I have this sandbox site. I have a category page that I just called wooden blocks. In the short term, it's got a couple sample products on it, and that's it. So this is just vanilla, untouched Cornerstone. In the back end, let's start with optimizing the category title. So for that, we're going to go into products, product categories, and we're going to put in the title. And again, if you join me late, just want to make sure you guys don't think I'm telling you to just use GPT content straight out of the bin. Don't read it, don't proof it, don't improve on it. This is just, speeding things up for the purpose of this video because we're not going to keep you guys here all day. Okay, so in the back end, product categories, I'm going to view this category. I'm going to change the name to wooden building blocks for kids, which is what we selected. BigCommerce is automatically going to create a 301 redirect for the old URL to point to this new URL so that we're not losing SEO mojo. And down here, we have the page title and the page description. So you generally are going to want your page title to be in here. Some people may or may not recommend putting, some kind of delimiter like a pipe and saying our greenhouse.com afterwards, or, something like that, where it's like keyword space brand name. I'm not going to tell you what the right answer is for that. It's very debated. But the meta description, let's write that in first of all. Let's ask GPT, create 3 examples of a well-written page description for this category page at around 160 characters, because there is a limit on how many characters you can show. So let's just say at 135 to 160 characters that promotes the category, our greenhouse.com, and would draw in a web visitor. No problem, Rick. Thanks for joining us if you're taking off. Okay, so GPT's given us 3 different examples here. You can do 10 or whatever. The idea is just to kind of come up with something that is clickable, right? But also, promotes the category. So I don't mind putting like the brand name into the page description. I don't like it being at the very beginning, but I don't mind it being at the end to make it look a little bit more branded. So I'm going to just select this here in the short term and say this is going to be our page description. You can wordsmith one to be better if you like. Let's see, where'd my page go? Okay. So now we have retargeted the category. I'm just leaving the description blank here for the moment. We've put in the title, we've put in the description that's optimized for the length. Now let's grab the description. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong tab. Let's grab the real description and let's put that into the page up here. Now you have choices with BigCommerce if you want to use the WYSIWYG or not. You don't have to because Page Builder, you're going to be doing some of this stuff in Page Builder anyway. So it's up to you if you want it here or not. Having it here has some small benefits in that it's accessible through the API. So if you ever need to like export all your categories and get your descriptions, or if you ever want to import all of your category descriptions on top of this, then this is available through the API. Whereas content that you put in widgets, I mean, technically it is, but really it isn't. It's just too much work to get to it through the API. But you may want your descriptions to be consistently here just for other reasons. For the purposes of what's going to be on the page, it doesn't matter too much. Okay, so we've renamed the page. We've optimized the page title and the page description. If you guys don't know what those are, page title and page description, that's your suggestion to Google as to what you think it should show in search results. So when you do a search for wooden building blocks, if Google takes your suggestion, this should be your page title. This should be your page description. Now, the full 160 characters doesn't show. This is why I like getting the brand name here somewhere in the middle, because it'll end up showing here at the tail end of what's visible, even though it's not the full tail end of the description. But this is what you're trying to tell Google is this is good sales copy for us. So if the description and title that we showed shows in search results, and if it's well written, then perhaps your listing is more clickable than the next guy. And if your site is more clickable than the next guy, this is why it's important, is because say you're ranked number 3 and number 2 nobody's clicking into, and everybody's skipping over number 2 to click into number 3. Well, Google sees which one people click into. So by making your listing more clickable, you're telling Google that people want your content more than they want number 2. And so this alone can help you rank. This is why your page title and your page description are ranking factors. Okay. All right. Oh, Rick's still here. Cool. All right. Let's go into the customizer now. And so we're going to go to storefront, themes, customizer. If you guys already have BigCommerce stores, I'm sure you already know how to get here. This is the page builder. This is where you can use widgets. And I'm going to change my preview here. I'm going to change to preview so I can click into the category. All right. First thing I want to tell you guys, I'm not going to do this in this video, but I want to tell you about this as a possibility, because you might be looking at this thinking the same thing that I'm looking at, which is, hey, we changed this to be called wooden building blocks for kids because we wanted to get the for kids in here. But if we did that on all of our categories, look how much it's going to junk up our menu. And that's fair, right? We want to have the most relevant term in the H1. That is the most important thing for the discussion we're having today, is how to be optimized for the term. So you definitely want the best keywords in the H1. We got that, but we junked up our menu a little bit. Well, I'm going to do a separate video on this, but just know that you can use a stencil command. It's the stencil command is actually called replace. And if you insert this into your loop, let me show you what I did on another site here, sprinterstore.com. These guys are awesome. If you guys have a Sprinter van, buy from these guys. They have all the performance upgrade stuff that you need. Okay, so they've wrecked their menu. Okay, putting that aside, they shouldn't have put this into their menu, but I'll fix that here after the call. This is what I get for doing a live call and showing you guys stuff live. Okay, so they have all these parts for Sprinter vans, right? And so they wanted all of their categories to be optimized for full terms, like brakes for Sprinter vans, not just brakes, because good luck ranking for the term brakes. You want to be optimized for brakes for Sprinter vans if you're selling brakes specifically for Sprinter vans, or engine parts, again, for Sprinter vans. And it doesn't have to be this repetitive, but if you're trying to make all of your categories long tail and you're focusing on an audience that you want to infuse into these long tail keywords, like adding 4 sprinter vans, to most of your categories, for example, you can see that their menu didn't get junked up. And so here's what I did. I'm going to just describe this and I'll make a separate video about it. But I used a replace command within their menu loop to say anywhere that the term space, because you get this space right here, right? Anywhere that the term 4 sprinter vans comes up as the name of a category, replace that with nothing. And so what that effectively does is it snips this part of the string out from all of their dynamic menu items. So what you're seeing here, sorry about it, kind of flickering like that. What you're seeing here is still 100% dynamic. All of these categories say blah 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 for sprinter vans or sprinter vans, fuel systems or something like that. And I'm using that replace thing to fix how I wrecked the menu by making everything super long tail by snipping out 3 or 4 or 5 of these little strings. This is a huge thing because most of the time people tell me that they don't want their categories to be super long tail because it wrecks their menu, or because then they'll have to have a fully custom menu, which is problematic. And I don't recommend having a fully custom menu. You want your menu to be dynamic, and if you want to snip out these little audience pieces of the string, like 4 sprinter vans or 4 Ford Transits, um, you can do that with a replace command in Stencil. Okay, back to the show. Uh, yes, wooden building blocks for kids. So we have our description that got put in there. That's good. It's in the right spot. That's good. We need some more stuff to be put down here. So I'm going to go back into design mode, and Cornerstone automatically has a widget area at the bottom of all of your categories automatically. If you're on a different theme or if you're on an older version of Cornerstone, you may not have a widget region here. If you need to add widget regions to your template, it's super easy. Just look on my YouTube channel for, I think, widget region or global region. You'll see a video where I show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. So if you don't have something like this here, you can add it. If you want it not to be column width like this, if you want it to go all the way across, you may just need to move where it's at or add a second one, right? For the purposes of this call, I'm just going to work with it as is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in a widget from my company's app, Epic Page Builder Widgets. It's a free app with a small paid upgrade for some of the things I'm going to show you. Text blocks is part of the free side of the app. So you got this without doing anything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Surfer, and I'm going to take this right here. If I forget to unmute myself when I cough, somebody let me know. I don't want to be going on forever and not have you guys hear me. Okay, so I'm going to paste this in here into the first block. Now this is an array type widget, which means that we can have multiple blocks, and it's just going to let us put more text on the page. The reason I'm showing you this widget, which is again in the free side of our app, is that this widget, unlike BigCommerce's default text widget, lets us control the element. So we can go to this first block that we put in here and say, make that baby an H2, and it's going to be an H2 on the page. That's something you can't do without getting into like a custom HTML widget from the stuff that BigCommerce puts out there. So our widget makes it really easy for you to get additional content on the page without losing the ability to control whether it's an H1 or an H2 or paragraph text or whatever. Um, let's see here. This question from Kronerstat: do I have to pay to create my custom assets like you? I'm not sure what the question is. I'm not sure what you mean by a custom asset. So maybe you can clarify, and I'll do my best to answer. Okay. So now let's go back to Surfer, and we want to paste in all of this, right? So let's paste this in. We're going to put this in the second block, just like that. I don't think we have unordered lists in there, and this should not be. Oh, I guess maybe it's just a bug. I'm going to paste this in though. Let's see what happens when I paste an unordered list in. So block 3. All right. All right. So it's trying to turn that into like a paragraph. Let me do this. Let's just not put it in like that. And instead, we're going to get out of this. And we're going to go into BigCommerce's HTML widget. I'm going to just, for the sake of this, we actually have a bullets widget that you could use, but I'm just going to show you guys some quick custom code here. Not a big deal. What's a little unordered list between friends? You know what I mean? Just making a quick little listy list. Not a big deal. I'm sure most of you guys know like just super basic HTML by now. Okay, so I got a list in there, saved. Didn't use our bullets widget, although you totally can. I'm not trying to make this a commercial for our widget. I'm gonna just let me just delete that, and I'm gonna redrag in another text blocks, just like that. And I'm gonna delete it for no reason. Okay. I'm gonna get that bottom paragraph in there. And I did want to go into this block right here and actually separate this out into its own paragraph as well. All right. Look at that. Click publish, Rooney. Um, okay, Kroner stat. So in Page Builder, we have basic, but I don't have custom. Do I have to pay to have custom? I'm currently in the free plan for 15 days. So if you're on the free plan for BigCommerce and you're just testing it out and you want to use some of these custom widgets that come from my app, or there's a couple other apps out there now that put widgets into your store. I like my app the best, but you can install apps at any point, even if you're on a free trial. So you can install my app. You can use the free version of our widgets, which a couple of these here that I'm going to show you are not the free version. The text blocks is on the free version. So you can install that app and use the free version of the apps, the widgets. If you want to use the paid versions of the widgets, you do have to upgrade the app, but it's $50 one time. That's it. At least at the time that I'm recording this. Might be more in the future. We'll see. Anyway, so the text blocks widget that I just showed you guys is totally something that you can get on the free side. One thing to show you guys, if you're not familiar with this yet, when you put in widgets, those widgets are put in columns, and those columns have some default padding that gets applied to them, and it drives me nuts. So I always take that out. You can see that I ended up putting this extra widget here in a separate column. Let me show you how to move these things around a little bit. Um, this isn't a whole separate video, but you can see I've ended up having this widget region here with a layout that contains the top stuff. That's the one that I removed the left and right padding on. I, ended up with an extra column being, or an extra layout being created that the lower stuff is in, which that's going to have its own its own paddings and stuff. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take this widget that I added down here and I'm going to just drag it back up to the top, which leaves me with a widget layout here that's completely empty and I don't need, so I'm going to just delete it. Okay, so now we're looking pretty good. Okay. What I want to do next is I want to get the frequently asked questions about wooden building blocks in there as another H2. Our widget app has a widget just for headings that you can totally use if you want, or because we already have text blocks in here, we can just come in here and create an extra text block, use it to put this in here as an H2 and make it an H2. All right. Yeah. So far, everything that I've used is completely free. Um, the widget that I'm going to show you next is on the paid version of my app, but the text blocks you can totally use. And even just that, like, is a huge upgrade to what you can do in the BigCommerce customizer by default. So when BigCommerce came out with these widgets, Uh, you know, us and I think the rest of the world was like, "Yay, widgets!" And then we tried the widgets out. We're like, "Boo, they suck." BigCommerce, if you're listening to this, sorry. But I think I'm going to speak for BigCommerce. I think that they purposefully made them, not amaze balls because I think that they had the intent from the beginning for third party developers like me and my team to come in here and create custom widgets. Like I think this was their whole plan is for people to install and upgrade Epic Page Builder widgets. And there's other ones out there too. I am starting to see some of the non like widget apps create widgets that express the data that they add to their store. So I would imagine over time, like all of the reviews widgets guys, all of the review apps guys should develop their own reviews widgets that you can drag into pages and things like that. Really, a lot of the third party apps should consider making a widget for that thing that they do. All right, but back to the main thing. So we have this content in here and it looks great. We have our new H2 in there. It looks great and it's time to put some FAQs on the page. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to copy this first one. Now, you could paste them in and just make a long text blocks thing and have your page be a million miles long. It's not going to look that great. And again, we want to balance putting more content on the page with having it still look great. So what I recommend is using an accordion. And you can use an accordion from the paid side of our widget app. And when you drag this in here, it's gonna, I mean, you can see it's already put accordions on the page. Nothing needed. Just drag it in. I'm going to copy in the first title. I'm going to grab the value. And I would like to see these longer. If I was, doing this for real, I'd make these longer. I'm going to just paste that in there. You need to click Save HTML because this is an HTML field when you're done with it. Otherwise, it won't save the value. If I click this and go in here, there's our value. Now, the reason we used an HTML field in here, even though it's kind of ugly, is so that you could actually put like bullet points in here and you can put anchor links and stuff like that. BigCommerce doesn't have like a WYSIWYG for their customizer. So, you might need a little bit of basic HTML if you want to get fancy, but we left it in here as an HTML widget, an HTML field so that you could get fancy. Okay. Let's copy in. We're gonna just copy in here a couple just for giggles. Let me click into the second one. All right, so that's our title. I'm not going to paste all these in here because you guys have things to do. Sure, it's Friday. But I'm going to paste two of them in here. I'm going to delete this third one. And the only reason is because I'm going to duplicate these ones just to get a couple more on the page quickly. And I'm going to drag them up and down. So you can reorder them. Any of these array widgets, you can reorder just by dragging the array items up and down, which is nice. So now I have a repetitive looking 5 questions, but I want to add 10, right? And if I just kept on duplicating and duplicating and duplicating and duplicating, then eventually I have 10, right? 10, just like that. But that looks a little bit loud. First of all, these things don't need to be bold. Actually, I need to change the default styling because I don't like them being bold, and I don't want you guys to be having to do too much work. So I'm going to just change the font weight of the accordion titles to be normal. I'm going to change the size of them to not be so big because for whatever reason, the default text in Cornerstone is smaller than the text that I have on my accordions. You really should use like 16 point font or 16 point font or greater for all of your basic text. Just Google says, just do it. 16 is readable. 14 is crazy. If you're still using 12 point text on your site, like that's just stop. So I'm going to leave these in as, let's make them actually just a tiny bit smaller. Now let's leave it 16. Let's make the content slightly smaller and say that it's 15. so that if we open this up, then it just looks slightly smaller for the actual content than the title. You can certainly play around with this widget. Again, this widget, Chronostat, is on the paid side my, of my plugin. It's not the only way to get accordions on the page. I think it's the easiest way, but you can. You can come in here and dial this up a little bit. Like, let's see if we do that. So that just gave all of the titles a slightly gray background. Let's see here, spacing between the tabs. If I do that, kind of elevates the spacing a little bit. If I want to, let's see. Well, I'll just leave it like this. This isn't really a tutorial on how to use my widget app, but that looks reasonably nice. So let's say we like it like this, and we want to actually. I need to add a little bit of internal spacing. Well, let's see. Does this do it? No. All right. Well, I'm going to just leave it like it is. Here's what I am going to do though, is I'm going to say, what if instead of this being a massively tall block, what if we delete 5 of these? And so we pretend that this is a grouping of 5, and then we duplicate it to give us 2 groupings of 5. And of course, you should be putting in unique questions and not just reusing the same questions over and over again. And here's what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come into the layout that was created when I dragged this in. I'm going to first of all remove the extra spacing that gets in there every single time. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to the layout and say this is 2 columns. And I'm going to, let's see. So we have column 1 now and column 2. I'm going to drag that second accordion in there. Look how great that looks. Well, now I don't really love the gray, but putting the design touches aside, if you do this for every one of your pages, if you optimize the title, if you create content that's relevant, if you use SEO, Surfer SEO, or some similar tool to punch it up, you put 1,000 words on the page when your competition is just dialing it in with 1 or 2 sentences, if that. You put in frequently asked questions and a why buy this section of the page, your content on this is so much more dialed up. And the whole purpose of what I'm showing you guys today is this is what you guys can do without being a fancy SEO, without getting into like a million tips and tricks. This is what every one of you business owners can do without being a developer. If you're a developer like me, great, you can do it too. Everybody can do this. There's nothing that I showed you guys that was developery, except I entered an unordered list as HTML. Putting that aside, and you could use my bullets widget. Putting that aside, this page is so much more optimized now for search, and it still looks good, right? I want to show you guys one more thing. Thanks, Gary, for the kind words. I appreciate it. Let me look at questions here real quick. See if I'm behind. Do the widgets add any performance issues instead of just using a stencil template? No, unless they're crappily written. So widgets go on the page the same as stencil code. In fact, it is stencil code. It doesn't come in after the fact as JavaScript unless the widget is written using Ajax or some kind of fancy JavaScript like that. Otherwise, it's on the page at page load, doesn't add anything to it other than the weight of a bigger HTML page, which is what you want, right? You want more HTML. So there's no performance loss in using BigCommerce's widgets as opposed to using some kind of third-party JavaScript system like Shogun. I'm going to just put that out there. So I like the widgets, as you guys can tell. I want to show you one more thing. I've showed you guys a couple secrets here that, especially getting FAQs on the page, especially using Surfer, making sure that you're targeting the right thing in the first place. Like these are all These are all valuable, man. You can make yourself rank higher without paying a professional SEO if you do this stuff. And I'm going to show you one more thing, and this, uh, is something that is so easy. It's so easy. Anybody can do this. You just have to sit here and take some time. Okay, let's say this is the keyword that we're optimizing for, and this is the page. Again, from the start, this is what we started with. Roughly, right? We're trying to optimize this page, creating a fake version, but we're pretending it's this real version. The final secret I'm going to share with you guys today is internal linking. So SEO for e-commerce is different than doing SEO for like a service business. For like for my company, Epic Design Labs, we're ranking for service-based searches, and most of the time, service-based businesses have 10 to 50 pages on their site. That's it. Most of the time, e-commerce sites have 1,000 or 5,000 pages. Once you figure out that all of the products are a page, all of your categories are a page, all of your blog posts are a page, it's very easy to have an enormous count of pages. And so just by having the sheer amount of volume and the ability to target so many more things, because everything is targeting something, right? You have a really good chance of getting SEO traffic without doing backlinking. Now, I'm not saying backlinking isn't important. Backlinking is important, but what I am telling you is that I see a ton of e-commerce stores rank without backlinks just because you're taking so many more stabs at Google searches. And there's so much you can do before even getting around to backlinking. And everything I'm showing you today can improve your rankings even without backlinking. What I want to show you next, though, is internal linking. I don't know if I said that already or if Jaden, you're just beating me to it. But internal linking is huge in e-commerce. So think about it this way. If you have a site that has 5,000 pages on it, you know, you're probably not Amazon, so you're going deep into a niche, right? And so you need to have Google really understand what each page is about. And you probably have pages on there that could target some similar keywords. So if you have a category of wooden blocks, you have all of these product pages that have the term, well, a lot of them have wooden blocks on them, right? So these are all potentially leeching authority from that main keyword, which is wooden blocks. So what you want to do, let me make sure I'm okay on time here. What you want to do is make sure that it's super clear to Google as to what ranks for what keyword. So when you come into a page here, like this classic wooden blocks, for example, why would Google rank your wooden blocks category over this wooden blocks product page? And part of the answer is your breadcrumb links with your keyword here to the category page. So every page that's underneath your category is backlinking or internally linking to that category page and saying for this keyword, this page right here that I'm linking to is the best answer. Okay. So if you don't have breadcrumbs, dude, get breadcrumbs like right now on all of your product pages. And you want basically those breadcrumbs to be pointing the finger back to the categories that are the parent items of that product page. Okay. So you're making clear to Google what is relevant to this term because this page that they may otherwise confuse with the term wooden blocks is actually pointing to the parent page and saying that's the guy for wooden blocks because it's got a contextual link. So the real point I'm trying to make is internal links are huge. Breadcrumbs are one way to get it. You need breadcrumbs. The other way to get it is to actually create manual internal links. And I want to show you guys how to find the easiest way to find opportunities for this. And I've shown this to other people that are just standalone professional SEOs. We do SEO in our company, but it's just one of the services that I do. I've gone to people that actually only do this for their living and they didn't know about this. So here's what you do is you open a Google search and you open it saying site colon URL. And what that does is it says to Google, show me everything you have that's relevant to the term space for but contained within this URL. We don't want to leave it as space. We actually want to put in our keyword. So wooden building blocks for kids. I'm going to just shorten that, say which pages on this site are most relevant for wooden building blocks. And it's going to tell me. And you know, think about how Google works. Google is going to tell you the best answers for the query. So Google isn't just telling you what pages are relevant to the term wooden building blocks, which it thinks 88 pages within this site are. So imagine the confusion of Google trying to figure out which page is the one, right? But it is also going to rank those pages in terms of what is most relevant to this. Okay. Now, what you're hoping to see is that your wooden building blocks category is the number one result. It should be the most relevant to the term that you're trying to optimize it harder for. If it's not, then Google's really confused about your content. Okay. But putting that aside, look at number two, which is actually the page we were just on. Look at number three, look at number four, look at number five, look at number six. What I would do next if I was you guys, and you can do this even without doing all the stuff I just showed you on how to make your page more optimized content wise. What I would do next is I would click into each one of these pages, like the next five down. So, not the one we're optimizing, but the next five down, let's say, and you could do more. I usually do like five. Is I would go into this page and say, okay, Google thinks this is the second most relevant page to wooden building blocks and stacking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look for an opportunity within the content of this page, so the text of this page. I'm going to look for an opportunity to make sure that that keyword is in it and to link it manually to that category that we're trying to rank. So this may mean that we're going to change the text that's on this page. So maybe let's just pretend like we're going to change this here and say, yeah, we're going to inspect it. And I'm going to just change this in the code because I obviously can't change this page since it's not my site. But we could easily say this wooden building blocks right here could be changed to instead say wooden building blocks for kids. Okay. So you can see I just changed it temporarily here. This doesn't change our site. I'm not like a hacker or something. But what I want to do then too is I want to turn that into an href, which you can do in the WYSIWYG, and you want to surround that entire term. So we're taking that exact term and we're going to point it to whatever that URL is, right? So it's going to say href points to that category URL. We're going to take that exact term, wooden building blocks for kids, and make sure that it's in there. Now, turned out a little weird because I did it in the code, but I hope that you guys can see I hope that you can pick up what I'm throwing down here, which is that you want to take 5 to 10 opportunities to talk about wooden building blocks for kids, or it doesn't have to be that exact phrase. You could also come back to our hrefs and maybe you want to take one of those opportunities to put in building blocks for kids, one of them to target wooden building blocks, one of them to target like the full keyword. And what we're trying to do is we're just trying to get a fair spray of these keywords that are really all the same thing. We're trying to get Google to realize that anytime we're really talking about wooden building blocks for kids or wooden blocks for kids or building blocks for kids, it all points to the same thing every single time. That raises the relevance of that category page to that term, and it looks like natural internal linking, which it is. This is just improving our content. So everything I've shown you guys today is just about improving our content, not tricking Google into anything, but just saying, how can we be the best content? How can we optimize one single page for one single term or a small cluster of terms and just improve our content to improve our ranking? I guarantee you, if you do this, pick 5 or 10 of your most important category pages and, do this, spend an hour or 2 on it, maybe get a tool or 2. I like Surfer, I like Ahrefs. You could totally use, Uber Suggest if you wanna save some money off Ahrefs. You could totally use SEMrush, doesn't really matter. If you do this for 5 or 10 of your categories and come back a month later, you're gonna see that they've all increased in position because you're improving their content, and content is king. Okay, my mouth is dry, you guys. Whew, that was a lot. I hope you guys are still awake. I hope this stuff wasn't, too complicated. Um, None of it's code, all of it's stuff that I think most business owners can do. You can see it takes time. And this is why hiring someone to do SEO, this is why it costs more than 200 bucks a month. Like you can't sit down here and spend hours on a single page to get better results and have it be, something you can deliver as a service for, nothing. So it takes time, takes effort, takes elbow grease. Totally doable by you guys. Totally. I show my clients this all the time because I want to empower them to be able to do more. We work with a lot of clients. We do, design and builds. We have a lot of support contracts with bigger companies. We do a lot of marketing type of stuff. And I don't mind doing easy stuff, but I really want my clients and I want you guys to be able to go farther without having to pay devs like me to do every little thing. So I want to make everybody more dangerous, whether you're my client or not. Um, this is my goal. Okay, you guys, we went through a lot of questions during. What kind of questions do you guys have left that I haven't answered? Sorry for the sniffle. Yeah, Jaden says it takes time, and that's why people don't bother. 100% correct. And that's why you can do so much in e-commerce without even getting to backlinks. Because if you're just the one guy that bothers with his content, if you put in the time, then you will get ahead. It's easy. Um, I've shown you guys how to do it now. You could totally create great content, and I want you guys to do it. Try it on 5 categories, man. Um, I tell people all the time. It's like Grandpappy used to say, "You only floss the teeth you want to keep. Only optimize the categories you wanna make money off of." That's how I look at it. All right. Keep the questions coming here. I got a little bit of time. I'll answer what I can. It doesn't have to be on the topic of category SEO. So if you guys have some other random stuff, um, you know, my spiel is over. I'm happy for a little bit of time here to answer whatever you guys got. And I know everybody has, questions. If you guys are big commerce store owners, I'm sure you have questions about something. Um, oh yeah, yeah. Jaden asks about the stencil command to sort out the menu. When are you releasing the video? It's going to be in my next batch. It's on the list. Um, I'm trying to launch a video podcast at the same time, so I have a lot of content that's kind of come out, and yeah, that's in the next batch. So I would say within the next, let's shoot for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It's really cool. We do it all the time, and what a cool tool, man. Stencil, there's so much that you can do. And you know what? One thing that I have planned, I've most of my videos so far on my YouTube channel. If you guys aren't watching this on YouTube channel, I got a big YouTube channel that's all about BigCommerce. You can just type in my name on YouTube and you'll find it. There's tons of them. What I've done so far is really, videos that answer specific questions, and so I'm taking real long tail questions people ask. Sometimes it's comments from other videos. Sometimes it's things I find on Google SERPs. Sometimes it's just questions that my customers ask. I'm like, everybody needs to know that. Let me make a video. you know, that's what I've done mostly so far. I'm going to be launching a video podcast, which is going to be a separate channel. I'll be sending links out. You won't miss it. But I'm also going to be putting out some more content here on my current YouTube channel that is going to focus focus on things you can do with BigCommerce. And I don't know exactly how I'm going to position it. It's going to be kind of like cool stuff we've done for BigCommerce clients, like what I showed you guys for the Sprinter store. And I don't want it to really come across as like bragging about, what we do or can do. I want it to come across as, here's some cool things. Like I want to show people like how many tools you really have at your disposal in BigCommerce. I want to show people cool things that you can build that we have built, and that way people know what's possible. So kind of like a what's possible series or solution series, that kind of stuff. I'm going to just like get granular, and each video is going to be, not, it's not going to be like a case study or something where it's just completely bragging about us. It's going to be like, here's something we built, here's why we did it, and here's how it works. We may or may not, I may or may not show the exact code, but anything that we have done is figure outable once you know that it's possible. And that's kind of what I want to answer with this new series that I'm going to put out. It's just like cool stuff you can do with BigCommerce, because like there's so much untapped potential that we know about because we've been doing this for more than a decade on the same platform. And the replace trick is like it's a very small stencil thing. And if you just know about it, then you can make your SEO so much more deadly. Or if you're not a developer, if you just show your developer the video I'm going to put out, it'll make him so much more deadly and make you so much more deadly. All right. Keep the questions coming. All right, let's see here. Okay, one more thing I totally forgot to write down on my list, but that is relevant to what we went over today is one more thing that you can add to your category page that I didn't include, but social proof. You can include a row of reviews on your category page. You can include a row of reviews on every page on your site. There's apps that you can use for that. There is a widget in my widget app, Epic Page Builder widgets, that you can use to manually put reviews on the page if you want. We put it there for people that aren't using a third-party app. However, we totally recommend using a third-party app. Stamped and Yotpo are the ones that I think I like the best at the moment. I do not like Trustpilot because they put everything in an iframe, and what's the point of that? I like Stamped a lot. Stamped's my overall favorite at the moment because they give you a lot of widgets, not widgets, but like drop-in code that you can use to put review widgets other places in your site, including a category page, including your header and footer, and they have like a lot of widget choices. And so I think if you use Stamped or something like it, get an extra row in there below everything. That's just a row of testimonials. So that's one thing that you can add. Sorry, that was an answer to the question. How can I effectively leverage social proof to boost sales? Sorry, it triggered me. I should have read the question first. So that's how you can effectively trigger boost sales using social proof. Put reviews other places. Rick says, for some reason, okay, let me see here. For some reason, my theme uses customizations, but does not show up on my local. I think it might be using GraphQL or BigCommerce API. Well, it depends on the customizations. So some of the things that show up on your front end could require a script that you may be loading in the script manager. None of the scripts you load in the script manager actually show in Stencil Local. So if you're using Stencil Local and you want to see some of that stuff in there, sorry, that was a coughing break, not a cliffhanger. If you're using Stencil Local, you're not seeing some of the stuff that you need. You may just need to copy a script into your local file. There is a stencil command that you can use to surround it, like an if statement that says, like, if it's a development site or a development store, that'll render that script that you load in manually to load just on your Stencil Local and not on the live site, which would effectively make it load twice once you push it, right? So you want the stuff in Script Manager to load on the front end, and you want to have these one-off scripts that you load on the back end just for testing that you want to surround in that stencil command because they're just for testing and uh, not for the live site. All right, I'm almost out of time. What strategies can help me recover abandoned carts and lost sales? Use Klaviyo for your abandoned carts, period. And make sure that, excuse me, make sure that your Klaviyo site is built out or your Klaviyo theme is built out. Make it look really good and put thought and some unique content into your Klaviyo copy and A/B test everything that you do in Klaviyo. Klaviyo makes it so easy. I'm going to do like a whole bunch of videos on Klaviyo, but Klaviyo makes it so easy to A/B test every email and every sequence and even emails in your campaign that there's no reason to ever not be testing. Like start out testing your subject line on those abandoned cart emails and figure out what subject line does better, award the winner, test another one, or start testing the copy within the abandoned cart. Figure out how to scientifically improve your abandoned cart recovery using Klaviyo. That's number one tip for sure on abandoned carts. You can also do things like have the cheapest price on the internet. You know, there's no barrier to someone buying if you're the cheapest guy. But I wouldn't want to be the cheapest guy, so that's maybe something that's not worth doing. Free shipping also definitely a good way to reduce your abandoned carts. Even if you do it like as a free shipping over a threshold, if you do that, realize most people are abandoning carts when they get to the checkout page because either they're shopping at work in the bathroom, gross, or they're shopping at work and they don't want to whip their credit card out in front of their coworkers, or they're on their lunch break, or they don't have time, or they need to think about it, or whatever. Or sometimes it's that they want to see what the shipping really costs, and they get all the way to the end to see what it really is going to be, thinking, "Okay, I'm going to go home and do that," and then they totally forget about it. Well, having things in the checkout that say, even if they haven't qualified for the free shipping threshold yet, having something in the checkout that says free shipping on orders over $75, or if you can have a script in there that says you're $5 away from free shipping so that they know how to get that free shipping and it takes away that barrier for them to buy. Those things help as well. Um, let's see. Should I consider running promotions or discounts to attract customers? Yeah. So promotions include in BigCommerce both coupons and discounts, right? I did a video on this recently, and the difference between the two is that coupons require a coupon code, and discounts do not, right? So a discount is not something you need prior knowledge of. So coupons can be a good way to attract new customers if they hear about your coupons outside of your store. And one whole strategy that some people have is actually getting their coupons found on the internet. So if somebody types in like discounts on chairs or whatever, if you have a listing up on a site like Retail Me Not and that has a 10-20% discount coupon and somebody finds you through Retail Me Not and comes into your store as a result with a coupon in hand ready to buy because they're looking for you, that's not a terrible thing. Like some people hate the idea of getting featured on sites like that. Some people do it on purpose. Some people use like affiliate programs that tie into some of that site just for the purposes of getting their coupons found. Like that's a whole strategy. Um, Discounts are a great way to put people over the top once they're already on your site. But yeah, I mean, discounts and coupons always are going to help people want to buy, you know? All right, got just a little bit of time left. What else do we have? How can I maintain a healthy work-life balance while growing my store? I don't know, man. I don't think anybody on this call probably knows. I think healthy work-life balance is what comes when your store hits seven figures. That's when you have enough people to do the work. Until then, if we're all scrappy entrepreneurs and we're under $1 million, like we're all wearing 10 hats and we're all going a mile a minute. So I don't know that there's a great answer to that one. All right. Let's see. What are the implications of selling on marketplaces like Amazon? Well, I'll say it right now, Amazon's the devil. It's it's the devil. But, you gotta do business with Amazon. If you're a unique product, if you're your own brand, then, you gotta do business on Amazon, man. You have to. You just have to. Because if the public wants what you got and you're not gonna sell it to them on Amazon, somebody else is gonna come along and rip off your product, and they're gonna instantly be stomping your face in volume, and it's gonna be hard to catch up. It's gonna be hard to sue them out of business if they're the ones making a ton of money off of your idea. So if you have a unique product or unique brand, be on Amazon. However, you don't have to be the same price on Amazon. You can mark your product up, given that Jeff Bezos has taken a 25% cut of your product. Sell it for more money. Sell it for 10% more than you're selling it on your website, for example. So if your product's $50, sell it for 55, sell it for 60. And if people price shop you on Amazon, now it looks like you're a great deal because it costs more money on Amazon. You know, use Amazon as something that gets the word out about your product. And if people buy there for a little bit more money, great. That's what Bezos gets a cut for. You know, I have a product that I sell on my site for $25 with a 20% discount. I sell it on Amazon for $25, sometimes $26 with no discount. And so if people want to pay the extra fee, then okay, Bezos earned his money and that's fine. So if you're a unique brand or a unique product, you got to be on there. I'm not the Amazon guy. When I go to trade shows and stuff, I introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Cal. I'm in e-commerce. I'm the not Amazon guy at this show." Doesn't mean I hate Amazon, but my business and my expertise is nothing around Amazon. I do sell on Amazon for my unique products, um, but I have other people that take care of it. So you got to if you're unique. Let's see here. Jaden says, "Is Cornerstone your default theme when you're building sites, or do you use another?" I use Cornerstone 100% of the time when I build a custom site on BigCommerce. And if you guys have checked out my portfolio at epicdesignlabs.com, there are a couple of Shopify sites on there because we do Shopify when we have to. BigCommerce is by far my favorite. They should pay me to say that. They don't at the moment. 100% of the BigCommerce stores on my portfolio are Cornerstone. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Cornerstone is the most minimal, which is usually why people hate it right off the bat because it doesn't look that great. It doesn't have anything. That's what you want as a developer is you want to design and develop and build that store up from nothing. You don't want to take, you know, uh, you don't want to take a Kia Rio and be like, turn that into a race car. No, you want to build it from the ground up so that it's performant, so that it's fast, so there's not a bunch of wasted load time. So you don't have things built very like awesome that put an extra weight on your site and then you just have to knock it out later. It's better just to not start with any of that drag and build up from scratch. Now, I'm going to do some live videos here because I want to keep doing these workshops, even if only a couple people show up for these. Like I think showing people a deep dive on some of this stuff is valuable for the right person, and so I'm going to keep on doing this. And one of the things I want to do is show people like I think I did one last week, maybe the week before, like how to build a landing page on BigCommerce. I'm going to keep doing these to show people this is how you would build something like this on Cornerstone. And the fact is, if you want like an average homepage that has a hero on it and it has some category cards and it has some products and maybe an opt-in, you can do that with any theme all day long. So why start with a slow one? Start with the fast one and build it using widgets, right? The widgets are getting so good with BigCommerce that between like the widgets in my app or maybe someone else's app or the default widgets, all you really need your theme to do is have a decent product page, have a decent category page grid, have a good header and footer. And all those things can be customized by somebody like us. So, don't get caught up in like the hero section on It's funny, I forget. I've made so many videos, Jade, and I can't remember which ones I've done. Um, but don't get so caught up in, this theme's hero versus that theme's hero. You don't want either of them. You want to build your own hero, or don't even use a carousel. Just use like a static image, or um, something like that with an overlay. Don't get caught up in all these features that add a ton of bulk to your theme. You want it lean and mean and widget based so that you can control your content. You don't need all this fancy garbage. This is why I like Cornerstone the best. Number one, it doesn't have all the fancy garbage. I think that's a huge plus. If you speed test it, against whatever theme you've been thinking about, just like speed test the demo page on Cornerstone versus the demo page on whatever theme you're looking at. Cornerstone's going to be faster. It just is. It's like 100% of the times I've tested, it's been faster because it doesn't have any garbage. And the final point is, and I'm going to do a video about this, ADA compliance is a thing. If you guys haven't heard about ADA compliance, American Disability Act, this is the thing that made everybody put handicap ramps in their buildings in the 80s. It's being extended to apply to websites as well. And a lot of websites, a lot of e-commerce store owners especially, are getting hit with class action lawsuits from lawyers that are scooping up 100 or 1,000 e-commerce stores all in one go and saying you're all being taken to court all at once. And then if you want to get out of it, you can just pay 20 grand or 15 grand. The lowest I've seen somebody pay to get out of it, this is anecdotal, but the lowest I've seen someone pay is 12 grand. Most of the people I've seen pay have been paying between 15 to 20 grand to get out of one of these lawsuits from lawyers saying that your site is not friendly enough for low visibility or blind users. And, I tell this to people. Some people think it's insane, like that can't possibly be real. Google it. It's a thing. People are getting sued. I know multiple people who have been served and have paid good money to get out of it. Cornerstone, right out the gate, is WCAG 2.0 compliant. There's three different, I'm going to just go into this, I guess, levels of compliance. There's A, double A, triple A. And these all refer to guidelines from a non-profit or an NGO called WCAG. That might not be their official name, but that's the name of the standard that they put out. And 2.0 is what was considered standard compliance at the double A level as of like 6 or 10 months ago when they last updated Cornerstone for ADA compliance. Now there's a 2.1 variation out there. Cornerstone doesn't meet the 2.1 guidelines, but it's pretty close. And it's going to be closer than any of the other themes that I've tested. There's online accessibility checkers that you can use to test your theme or the theme that you're looking at or Cornerstone to see what's what. And you want something that's close to passing or passing using these tools like Accessibility puts one out. There's one, I don't remember. I'll do a special video about it. But Cornerstone's 2.0 compatible right out the gate for free. And so when you combine the fact that you have much less chance of getting a lawsuit with your theme's going to be faster, with you just don't need all that fancy stuff that you're going to strip out anyway, Cornerstone by far. Yeah, all the stuff on my portfolio is all Cornerstone. It has been since Cornerstone came out in 2016. Every time there's a new feature on Cornerstone, every time there's a new feature on BigCommerce, they output it in Cornerstone first. And this is basically how they show all of the third-party theme manufacturers, of which we used to be one. This is how they show us how to use this feature, like how it gets actually expressed. And then it's up to third-party theme manufacturers as to whether or not they want to include those features. My favorite feature of Cornerstone from recent years, other than ADA compliance to keep you from losing a lot of money, is the LQIP lazy load. And this is a feature on Cornerstone. You can just look at their demo where when you look at a category page, for example, and it lazy loads all of the images on that page, it doesn't show a spinning GIF. Instead, it shows the lowest resolution version of each of those images, and then it replaces it with a higher version once it gets downloaded. And so what that looks like to your, to Google is number one, it's everything's properly lazy loaded. So it's going to load as fast as it can without being slowed down for all these images to load. But to your visitors, it doesn't look annoying with the spinning GIF. It just looks like it's loading super quick. Most of them won't even notice that it was blurry for a split second before getting that high resolution image, because that's usually happening outside of their field of vision. And by the time they glance down to the products, they've already crisped up. So that's cool. And there's still third-party companies that have themes in BigCommerce's theme store that don't have that feature, which is crazy because it's such a good feature and it's been out for like 6 years. So, all right. Let's see if there's any other good ones. If you guys have any final questions, now's the time. How do I create effective product descriptions that convert? Well, today was about categories. I think I'm going to just do like a full like do it yourself SEO course on BigCommerce, of which what you guys saw is a pretty decent glimpse of. So just extrapolate what we talked about today for product pages as well, and you're already most of the way there. All right. I think I think let's call it right here, man. We're 2 hours in. I can't believe some of you guys are still with me on a Friday at the end of the day. Man, you guys are champs. I want you guys to take what we talked about today, though, and actually apply it in your store. And if you don't follow me, my channel yet on YouTube, be sure to follow me. I'm going to be putting out a lot more stuff, a lot more different stuff. I'm going to keep this channel focused on BigCommerce. Um, with my podcast and some more general e-commerce stuff that I'm going to come out with. That's going to be done on a new channel that I'll announce very soon. So I thought a lot about the next steps here for content on this channel and whether or not I should include some more generalized e-commerce stuff that could be beneficial for BigCommerce or Shopify people. And I've gotten so many good comments about the very, very specific things that I've put out here and how big they are in terms of help for BigCommerce store owners. And while my videos, some of these get hundreds or thousands of views, some of them only get like 100 views. But to those people, like it's answering questions that they have, and so I don't want to dilute this channel with not potentially non BigCommerce type stuff. I'm going to keep this channel hardcore in the weeds on BigCommerce. I'm going to have a little bit more content types coming out here pretty soon, but it's still everything we do on this channel is going to keep on being about BigCommerce. And I'll announce my podcast here in the next week or two, most likely, and you guys can check that out. All right, you guys, I think that's it for today. We're at 2 hours. Let's call it. I really appreciate everybody being here. Big kudos to you guys. And see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much.